Mm. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the You Thrive Every Day show, where we thriving every day. Okay. And we have a special guest, Miss Goddess Sakina. So Miss Sakina, start us off with telling us where you from, and give us a little insight on your childhood.
Oh, if I can remember. Um, well, I'm from the Bronx, New York, and I moved down to Florida at a very young age, 11 years old. So some would say I'm a Floridian. Um, I still don't claim Florida though. I'm from everywhere. I'll say that. Um, most of my childhood was if I could remember, I don't remember most of my childhood, honestly. But I do remember being outside a lot. I loved being outdoors. Because if we were indoors, we would have to be reading or, doing chores and stuff like that. Hmm. Um, I was what you would call the demon baby. Like, I'm not gonna say as bad as some people would say. I guess I'm gonna make a reference to Neja. There's this anime called Neja, and there's this two seeds, a pearl and a red pearl, and the baby got the red pearl, the demon baby. So I was typically the bad child, the one who lashed out, the one who did whatever she wanted, talk back to her authoritative figures or whatever, and just yeah. Um, but it was a fun childhood for the most part.
Yeah.
Um,
So
hmm.
just real quick, because
Mhm.
this is not the first time that I have heard someone say that they don't really remember a lot of their childhood.
Yeah.
So why do you think that is? Just off the top of your dome,
Trauma.
trauma.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I had dealt with some sexual abuse. I was whooped as a child, and many would say, no, you need to whoop your children. But honestly, like, I feel like it's not necessary. For me, that was trauma because I had remembered at one point my mother had told me to kind of like kneel down and hold my hands out. And at that point, I was like, whoa, I feel like I'm being crucified right now, And I'm just like, like, this is a bit extreme. Like, don't you think? Like, damn, is there another way to, And at that time, okay, I didn't do anything that deserved, punishment. I legit we came from my cousin's house, and he had a 5 gallon water container full of quarters, and we're kids. We're like, oh, there's so much coins. He gave me some, and I wasn't thinking that it was stealing because he's sharing it, with me. And it turned out I was stealing, and so I got whooped for it. And well, I didn't really get whooped because I didn't even stay in that position long enough to really, receive my punishment because it was like, nah, I'm gonna run away. And so I ran away to my next door neighbor, sat in her driveway for a second and just, yeah, that was
Well, this is interesting because I'm like, yeah, I'm the generation above you.
Mhm.
Think about my age for a minute, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm the generation above you. And so it was still like super normal for you to get your ass whooped.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But in some cases, what I noticed in conversing with people is there was a difference in getting your ass whooped, you know what I'm saying? And what they call spanked. You feel?
Hmm. Yeah.
And we was getting our asses whooped. You know what I'm saying? And so like I don't feel that we didn't call it abuse back then. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying?
no, it
Because
wasn't.
at a certain age, I think I was like 9. Shit, I was younger than that when I stopped getting, and then where we come from, sometimes you was getting, you had extension cords. That was popular. We went from the switches to the extension cords. You know what I'm saying? And your ass would be whelped up and you gotta sit in the tub and I remember I got my ass beat so bad and then we went to the pool. Oh my
Oh my God.
God.
Oh,
Like, oh. And you know what's so funny is I was more mad at that I had a brand new pink bathing suit, boo, and I was cute, and all the boys had to see these whips on me.
oh my God.
I'm more mad at that than the pain, you know? But
Um,
I was saying all that to say, like, we really stopped getting our ass whooped with the switches, probably at like 8, 9 years old. And then you was just getting like lumped up. Or you know what I'm saying? Like objects thrown at you.
yeah. Yep.
Real,
Yeah. Anything that could be seen for. Yep.
real objects. Like I remember, you remember them coral telephones? Are you
Mm-hmm.
old enough for that? Okay, that's
Yeah, I can't remember though.
okay. I'm like, damn, she might be too young for that. Um, but like, oh my God, I will never forget this. Yo, AT&T had just came out with that motherfucking commercial. And my aunt was on the phone and she kept telling everybody, be quiet, be quiet. You know, she on the phone. She motherfucking phone and she said, shut the fuck up. I'm gonna
Um,
reach out and and oh my God. My cousin had a hold on heart attack, but she took the coil and, bought the phone back to her and then got back on the phone. But I remember I was dying. Like, but yo, we was getting fucked up and we didn't even like fucking register that shit. And
mhm.
so now in this day and age, I kind of feel like with the way, and you tell me about this because, like I said, you're the generation before me, or after, you know how that goes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So, uh, what I'm seeing with these youngsters is it's kind of like in this era of like all these technical advances and stuff.
Mhm.
And I started seeing this with myself actually once I got older. It's like more beneficial to take away shit that they like versus beating
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Because I got so used to getting my ass beat where it was just like, okay, I'm gonna take this ass whooping and okay, you know what I mean? And I'm
Right, yeah.
probably gonna do it again because it's gonna be the ass whooping and it's gonna be over with. It wasn't until it was like no phone calls. What? Like, what you talking
Mhm.
about? That was like real fucking punishment, you know?
Yeah.
So my question to you is, if you just think about it, say you got like a 2, 3 year old. Okay. This is my
Mhm.
child. Right. They look, man. And these new babies play zero games. They are
Mm,
authoritative and they want their way by any means fucking necessary. Okay. They will hit your ass. That used to be a pale thing, where you be like, nah, them people over there, they kids do that bullshit. Our children don't. We're in that era where these babies want their way by any means necessary. I didn't see mommies like, people of color and they babies like or snitching or,
mhm.
so it's
Yeah.
really like how do you think you would handle that situation? Because if you're not into like, popping their little hands, no.
Yeah.
Or a little tap tap or a pinch. I'm good at the pinches. I will pinch the fuck out of you. My pinches
That's
hurt.
honestly the first thing that came to my mind.
My pinches hurt.
Like if you want to inflict pain on me, I'm gonna inflict pain on you without me like raising my hand in a sense, because I feel like it's the raising the hand, it's the getting the objects, it's the bell, it's the whatever it is, like being, yeah. Maybe I would probably turn it around and like really feel or play with it like ouch, that really hurt. When I know it didn't, but I'm tricking their brain into thinking like you actually hurt me by hitting me,
Yeah.
and don't, so I may have tricked their brain and like, reverse psychology a little bit. Like
Yeah, I
ouch.
got a brother that his daughter, my niece, they say she got anger issues. She in therapy and she too.
Wow.
But like that's what her mom tried. Was the ow that hurt me, shit like that.
Oh, it didn't work.
So that's interesting because now that I think about it, like my nephew, my sister, we had a spoon. We had a wooden spoon with a sad face on it. And I'm
Mm.
glad I'm remembering this so I can get it for my daughter. But it was like it took one good little pop on the legs, you know what I'm saying, for him to know what that spoon does. And then every time he's seen the spoon, it was the symbolism like get it together.
Mhm. Don't even
Like
have,
yeah,
yeah.
we really didn't need to pop him because that one time, like it, he got it. So this is just an interesting discussion, because everyone has their different perspectives, but it's like what is the solution? You know what I mean? Like we got to come up with like I feel like more creative solutions because even
Mhm.
as a mom, like I say that all the time, like I don't want to just beat her ass. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm not into that, but at the same time, they gotta know.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's like, and then they
Yes.
don't register, like you take their stuff away from them. It's like, ah, and then they own to something different. And,
Hmm. Yeah,
like,
because children, they're kids. They don't, yeah. They're not phased by that.
so it's like, what punishment do Yeah. So anyway,
We gotta definitely be creative, like you said.
yeah. And because this is an important discussion right now. You know what I mean? Especially as we are coming to the awareness of how these traumas affect whole fucking bloodline.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's definitely time to make a change. And these little youngins, honey, the ones that are like 22 and under, yo, they on some other shit. They on some other shit. Like,
Hmm.
so this is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting for the next 10 years just to see, how creative the new mommies are as far as discipline and how these newer babies like turn out. And then too, which brings us back to subject. I feel like some of that is some of this abuse of spankings and whatever has a lot to do with shutting down our gifts early.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So with your rebellious spirit and getting your ass beat, you know, now that you look back on it, what role did that play for you in your adolescence?
Oh, did that? Could you like rephrase the question or?
How did that affect you in your
Mm.
adolescence?
Oh, I became very self-conscious about what it is that I did. Like everything, and it didn't even have to be a physical whooping. It was just like, um, I was always trying to please, what my parents wanted me to be or to do. And so I was just very self-conscious about navigating the world. Like, am I doing something right? Am I doing something wrong? And am I going to be punished? How am I going to be punished by society? Um, yeah, so it definitely shut down just my creativity. I felt like it just put me in this worker's mindset, like this. you just have to be mundane, just in order to avoid conflict, you have to just be in line. And so I avoided conflict for a long time.
Wow. Wow. That's a very thorough self-awareness. And so with all of that, like, how did your journey, we'll call it spirituality. How did your journey to spirituality start? I mean, feeling like that. Like, how do you even have the confidence to, go into such a subject matter instead of because most people become when they feel like that, they lose their confidence. They become like robotic, kind of. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
I was always inquisitive. I always wanted to know, like, why, even if I don't ask it, to the older people around me, I was always trying to figure it out for myself, and so I would, maybe my spiritual journey started before I met my ex, but it was when I really, really started was when I was in college and I was living with my sister at the time, or we were roommates. And I just felt like I couldn't get up for air. It was just like, is this really how life is supposed to be? And so I this is when my creativity started to come out slowly. I met this woman and she was just like this ball of fire and I wanted to like I looked up to that. I was like, you know what? I see that there is a way for me to get out of this mundane robotic, and she invited me to this yoga class and I went and it was a spiritual community that she introduced me to and it was that was kind of like the start of it. I didn't go back consistently right after, but I had went through something I can't remember, but that brought me back to that space. And so I said I need to be there. And it was 11/11/11. It was November 11, 2018 when I said, "You know what? This is something's got to change. Something's got to give." So I did a 2 cup ritual and I was like, "Please just send me somebody." Um,
You did a what ritual?
a 2 cup ritual. 2 cup ritual, you have an empty cup and then you have a halfway or a half glass full kind of cup. And you just envision, you know, you pouring what you envision yourself to be inside of this empty cup in a sense. Like you're just integrating with, your higher self. Let me just say that. So I wanted to meet somebody who could help me. Like I felt alone. I felt like, I wanted a partner that I can grow, that I can build with. And if it gets to marriage, it gets to marriage, whatever. But I was just open to learning from a reflection of me. And I went back to that yoga class after maybe a few weeks. And that's when I really committed myself to learning about what this simulation is. Like, what is this place? Because apparently this is my first time here. So I've always been just like what is this? Why
It's
is this?
not.
Like,
You're the
why?
first time here.
Yeah, well.
You
Um,
haven't lived as many. Look, I forgot what show we was on. You haven't lived as many lifetimes as the average souls here.
mhm.
You would be like a newer being to this game, let's say. But you've had lifetimes here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I felt like I had to remember something. Typically, when you wake up to yourself, you're just remembering things. And so I was just like really on this, journey of going down that rabbit hole, trying to understand what this all means. Like, why? what am I here to do? And a major theme was, what am I here for? So how am I here to help? Like, what if I'm here? Am I here to be like everybody else? Nah, like hell no. Then it wouldn't be any need for me to be here. So, um, and if I was supposed to follow, what my parents said, then how would that make me feel? So it was just a lot of questioning. Yeah.
Wow. So where
Yeah.
did you learn this two-cut practice? That's very intriguing.
I I think I looked it up online. Um, I don't know how I came across it. I guess I come across things at the right time. Like
Yes,
yeah.
yes. You
So
youngins in the fucking Google. Like y'all don't look, they be like, you said what? Oh, I don't know what that means. I be like,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying? Like that shit is so it's amazing to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. We are the young elders like that, like 40 plus, you know,
Hmm.
even though I'm 25. Okay.
Right.
It's so intriguing to me how y'all minds work. Because I guess when we was growing up, like you wanted to find, like for me, I loved going to the library and
Mm.
like getting lost. Like I was the weirdo that would be in like the Barnes and Nobles and you know what I mean? And like that was shit was like, I don't even know. It was like I'm getting lightheaded just thinking about it. Like
Mhm.
like a like a high. It was a
Yeah, I feel that. I was between that era, between I was going to the library and AOL had just made their debut. And it was, yeah, I was between the non-internet and the internet era. So Magic Treehouse, Goosebumps, those were my books. Even Junie B. Jones. Love me some Junie B. Jones. She was like, she defied. Like she was the,
you.
yeah, so
Okay. So then you get to this space. So tell me, all right, let's get into it. Because look, on these spiritual journeys, like it's almost like the more spiritual, the more bizarre. You know what I mean? Like out of the norm. So when did you start feeling things getting a little kooky? You know what I mean?
Mm,
Started coming in bizarre, kooky.
interesting. Mm. I think this was during my integration with this yoga, the spiritual community that I was introduced to, because this was the first time that I was hearing about stories that it just things seem impossible. People levitating, people being flown across the room. Not that I was, but it was just like these things are possible, and just my eyes are being open to energy and how energy moves and feeling it more in my body or just being knocked out by it. It was just like can't remember. Um, I would say that is when it started to um get a little kooky. Like, yeah, this is definitely there's definitely more to this that that meets the eye. Um and yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that. That's the first time. Yeah.
So like hearing these stories, like were you hearing them, seeing them?
I was more so hearing them, and then I started to see them just when people started to step into their own purpose and started to do more of that energy healing work, and I'm seeing them do energy healing work. and people are like shaking and kind of having like these, I guess, not convulsions, but just people are just shaking on the table, like you go to church and people are like they get the Holy Spirit kind of
Holy
thing.
Spirit.
They're just, and it's like equivalent to that. And I'm just like, is that really happening when somebody's just waving their hand over? It's just like, whoa, that there's really more than, you
Do you
know,
remember what modality that was?
um, just like subtle body energy healing. No, Kundalini energy. Yeah, Kundalini energy healing.
Wow. So now looking back on, the traumas and some of the what we would call negative experiences. If you were to give advice to say a 25-year-old, and they're just dealing with a lot of fucking trauma that happened during childhood. You know what I'm saying? And they're feeling worthless. They're feeling, depressed. They're feeling a lack of motivation to be here. They feel like life is just super fucking mundane, you know? What do you say to them?
I would ask them what what space makes them feel the most excited? Like what is it that they do? Um, if it's doing puzzles, coloring books, whatever, but what space makes them come alive? Like their most exciting space, their most attractive space, their most, yeah, just what makes them most excited outside of, yeah.
And okay. And so that's a good question. And so, they tell you coloring and they love being around people, mostly people that they don't know. They can go to clubs and really have fun with people
Hmm.
they don't know, and then there's no ties there. Um, but still, it's like even when they do the activities that they enjoy, there is still this feeling underneath
Hmm.
of the pain, from these traumas.
Mm. 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 I'm thinking there's a story that's attached to that trauma, and not that they would have to relive it, but what what good can they see? What kind of good can they see that comes from it? Because it's like it wasn't processed enough for them to see that this is actually for you. This is for you to experience. Um, in order to see what it is that you would prefer on the other side. That's kind of hard to.
It is
It's
because
like,
I'm that ghetto girl, and I'm like, so you saying that I'm supposed to fan something good, and my uncle climbing on top of me and putting his penis up in me while I'm screaming no, and he holding my mouth. What good was that?
mm, mm, yeah, I don't know what to say to that. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. These are, a lot of the experiences that we are cleaning up. I can give us props as a collective on that. It's being
Hmm.
talked about more. It's being discussed in these families. The
Mhm.
so-called victims, you know, these children are now saying, look, Uncle so and so did this to me. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
mommies are now not going. It's like,
Mhm.
he did what? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Type of shit. So it's like, as a collective, we are definitely getting better at this. But
Mhm.
it is still, the violation is still a huge fucking thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And it can be put in a space like a lot of trauma where you bury it so deep you even forget about that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Until you actually go in to try to do the work. And so what I invite people to do is to first of all go through the process of doing the inner work, because no one can tell you what comes up for you. It's really about the journey. And once you start taking the journey, what most can tell you is about the magic. You know what I mean? Because things show up for you that you don't even imagine showing up for you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Whether it's a practice that you can do, whether it's an actual human being, you know what I mean, that you either help, or that offers you great mentorship. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Like, no one can tell you what your process is going to be, but there are those that are helpful with starting you out on that process. You got to take one foot, you know what I'm saying?
One step at a time, for
One
sure.
step at a time, one foot in
Yeah.
front of the
Yeah. For
other.
sure.
And
Mhm.
then the more and more you go down this process, then you can start to understand that you can go to that timeline and clean that shit up.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You can actually go to that there and now and imagine it in a completely different way.
Mhm.
And in doing this, you release that old timeline. That shit is no longer gonna play on repeat, because now
Mhm.
what's playing on repeat is your vision of fixing that timeline, which
Mhm.
fixes your here and now.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it really is telling a different story, but actually knowing in your mind that you're literally going back to that timeline and changing that shit, right? Because that trauma, what we are calling trauma, set you on a different path. And you had to go down that path to learn certain lessons, to experience certain experiences to make you up in the now. But it's not supposed to stay there, right? And so
Mhm.
once you get to this point of awareness, you can now release it because it's no longer serving. And then you get to this point, because this is where I got to, where you no longer are traumatized by this situation. It doesn't do anything to you on the inside. You actually feel gratitude. You feel
Mhm.
gratitude for it. Because at that moment in time, it happened and it led you on a certain trajectory, and it made you who you are in the now. And you love yourself so much that you wouldn't have it any other way. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
you will really feel that because you've gone back to that timeline and made it what it's supposed, you know what I'm saying, what you wanted it to be, which you're now knowing.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. That's like doing the inner child, going back to your inner child as your higher self, as you would now with your higher self is no different. The mind is so powerful, so, so powerful. It can create, destroy, entertain. Yeah. And we call people with certain mental illnesses, like we don't understand it, but if we just
Make
kind of,
it
yeah, use see those as like a opportunity for us to create a healthy relationship with, I don't want to go as far as saying schizophrenia, but just being able to see in multiple, it's the same thing as you going in your mind and going back to those times. And
You can say that to me because you know
yeah.
how I view schizophrenia is our lack of awareness as a consciousness. You know what I mean? Because to me,
Hmm.
it's a beautiful gift. You have someone that is able to tap into different lifetimes in their now focus, and
Hmm.
instead of us like diving in, you know what I mean,
Hmm.
and investigating this and helping the mind wrap number one itself around that because
Hmm.
that's fucking pure chaos.
It
You
is.
know what I'm saying? And so people want to invite in chaos, but can you handle the motherfucking chaos all at once? You know, everything going on all at once, you know? And so um we got to get back to our tribal lineage and, you know, um our ancestors and all of these things because these were talents, you know,
Hmm.
and the person was aware of what was going on. Like they were taught and coached through this, you know,
Hmm.
and we could use that data from them being able to tap in to these multiple realities at one time.
Hmm.
You know, instead of now, they put you on medication and you're like, look, bitch, I'm gonna fuck you up. I can't stand you. The people are following me, blah, 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 blah. But it's like in their minds, you know, because you got like five parallel, and I do mean parallel realities playing in your head at one time, and nobody's teaching you how to organize your chaos.
Hmm. That's,
You know, so you can translate it.
yeah.
So
Mm.
I'm so ready for, side note, it's so beautiful. I went to a high school graduation. Girl, these new kids are something else, child. They fancy, huh? I'm like, these things, they walk around like it's a camera, like everything is being recorded, child.
Because literally everything is always be, oh, yeah. I'm glad I ain't grow up in this generation.
I'm serious. Like they are, but I mean, why not? What a fabulous way to live. I mean, because I kind of live like, my life's a movie. You know what I mean? But these babies really walk, they having conversations and like,
Hmm.
they just talking. Like, fancy, huh? Where
I
the
see.
cat?
Hmm.
But okay, what I noticed, which Moon and Pisces, I'm such a sensitive fuck. Uh, it just warms my heart so much. It was a homecoming game, and you know how they announce the royalty, whatever they call it.
Hmm.
It was so most of the names that they were calling, you know what these babies wanted to major in. And I had never heard of it being a thing. But it's funny as a life coach, I was telling people to like look into this, which
Hmm.
was music therapy.
Oh, wow.
Because you know what,
That's,
after
yeah.
recent studies now, they're saying that, this is really how they've been curing Alzheimer's, you know,
Mm.
is with the music therapy. And then as we're knowing in the now moments, a lot of the ailments that people are going through, people are in the know to set things to a certain frequency, and it heals them. And sound baths are very popular right now.
Hmm.
Sound bowls are very popular. I got the chills. I was just like, oh, I'm so proud.
That's what's up. I love to hear it.
That's so lit. Okay. So having said all of that, Miss Sakina, you have such a brilliant mind. Hmm. Wrong show. Okay. So what I would love for you to talk about, because that picture above your head. The one next to you, of course, yeah. But the one above your head, I love. You know,
Mm.
that's part of my logo. I've always had the rings, like, oh. And then to me, it symbolizes number three, my favorite number, you know. Please tell us about your art.
That one specifically is the element of air, actually. Oh, hold up. Ooh. Yeah.
Mm.
So I combined like the the goddesses and the gods that represent air, the air element. And it's also the symbol of the club or the wands. So it's just a blend of symbols that I wanted to use to just create more so for to communicate with the subconscious mind. So I leave it, the elements are always communicating with us. So I wanted to combine different eras of time, like the medieval era, the Egyptian era, the maybe Buddhism, and just blend all of these things that are saying the same thing and just implant that air essence in the
Can we see
subconscious.
the one next to you?
That one is also most of it is Egyptian with the god of Horus and Ra and of course the snake. um yeah, but that's the fire element.
I just love this. I'm not that great in those arenas. You know what I'm saying? With the drawing shit, that's not my thing.
Mhm.
I just have so much admiration for it. Like, where
Mhm.
where does your mind go? Like, where do you go when you're in these states and you're, painting and drawing? Like, where do you go?
It's a pretty chaotic space because I'm like experiencing all of these different um eras and I'm just trying in the moment I'm receiving a lot of information. How could I translate the element of fire? How can I bring in all of the representations of fire and just make it in one or just without trying to, think about it too much, just go based off of what I feel like I want to do. This is what I want to do. So let's just do it and see what happens.
So when you
So,
sit to do a project, do you already have like an image in your mind? Do you already have a theme? Or, do you mostly just start with a blank canvas and just go?
sometimes I have an image in my mind, and then sometimes like I'm adding stuff. Like I'll start off with something, and then, oh, it would be really nice to do this. So like for these, I I sketched it for the most part, and then I went back and added stuff.
Mm.
Ooh, this would be really nice with some texture. Like I added the each of them had a like a this is I don't know if you can really see it. It's texture fire
Oh, wow.
like fire, but I wanted it to be like fire is like you can't like you can see it, but you can't see it in a sense.
Oh, yeah.
So the direction,
Almost like a 3D feel for real.
hmm and so each of them have like this kind of like this texture thing on the edge that represents the direction that that element rules. So like each element rules a specific direction.
Are
North's
you
the
doing this for people or this is just your private thing?
This collection is the first and the not the last, but this was the first and the only collection that I did so far. And I did it for my intention was to, provide it to people, for scrying purposes, to just refine or rebalance their inner element or just see where it takes them, kind of thing. So I do have a website that I have the fire and the earth element that's available right now.
Tell us your website, boo.
Bigcartel.corporealgoddess.com.
Girl, spell it. Corporeal.
Big Big Cartel, BIG, Cartel, CARTEL, dot corporeal, CORPOREAL, and goddess, GODDESS.
I have to make sure we add that in the link. I'm gonna have to remember to write that shit down.
Yeah.
Sheesh. A big cartel, bitch, what you moving? Nah.
Speaking of moving stuff, my intention was to provide a little bit of, medicine on the side, with these
Yeah.
portals. Yeah, because
Yeah.
these are portals. So, um, yeah, I'm not gonna say that here, but
No,
you
I
know
got
what?
you. So what other services are you offering?
So there's this project called Organized Chaos for now. Um,
Oh.
it's like spin-off to like a natal chart. People have been going to their natal chart to understand, well, what am I here? Like, what's happening, right? But it's like, uh, we, I want us to kind of graduate from that space of seeing these planetary beings as like outside of ourselves, kind of use the energies that are already present, that are already, some people feel chaotic or whatever, but to just hone in on their own intuitive like navigations, how they feel more comfortable navigating the world. Following their most excitement. And so I'm inspired by this formula that that Bashar mentioned about the first step being just do, the act on the first thing that is the most exciting for you. Be in that space of excitement and do it until you can't do it anymore. And, without having any expectations or judgments about the outcome and things like that. And so I'm looking at the person's energy
Hmm.
through numerology, through their birth chart, whatever. I'll draw in multiple modalities like astrology, numerology, and a little bit of tarot just to see their personal year. And just instead of thinking too far into the past, thinking too far into the future, we're just focusing on the here and now and
Yeah.
how we can pretty much fine tune the way that we navigate our daily life, and I know I said a lot, but what I mean is like just being here and now. Like that's all that matters. Being here and now and flowing to the next task or flowing through your day is, everything that you get done is what's supposed to get done. You know what I mean? And not beating yourself up about what you should be doing, what you could
And
be
this
doing.
is like a chart to like
It's like a planner, or
okay, a planner, like to do it yourself.
kind of like to, yeah. So you're given um a blueprint. Like I'm still working on it right now. It's still kind of
I got
in the
I'm like,
mid.
bitch, how much? Let me sign that.
I'm deciding
I'll be a test dummy. Come on.
if it should be this like dry erase chart, like you said,
No,
or
I
just
get it.
one
The
sheet
blueprint
or a
is the
planner.
perfect word. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Wow. I told you, I told y'all in your head. Where you ever heard some shit like that?
Yeah, it's time to move beyond this whole seeing ourselves subjected to the energies of like Pluto, Saturn. Like, oh, people blame, oh, that's just my Saturn. Oh, that's just, like people blame things on, but it's really just your chaos. And so, how can you fine tune that energy? to
Mm.
serve you instead of just blaming it or seeing it as separate from you.
Yo, that's lit. Don't y'all think that's lit? That's lit. Okay. So we got the art, we got the charts, the blueprint charts. Wow. Um, and then you have like this voice thing going on. So are you actually offering out as a service for meditation, guided meditations?
It would probably be intent. Yeah, it would probably be together, like along your journey of adapting this, because it's kind of like a new lifestyle. You're stepping into, or you're collapsing the space between what you perceive as your now self and your higher self. And that takes a lot of, yeah, subconscious reprogramming. So I would definitely, provide guided meditations to help guide people through that integration.
I feel like we're gonna be doing so many shows. Like, this is a mind. Like and I'm all in this thing. I'm like traveling, like, oh. Like, wow.
Mhm.
This is
And a lot of it is forgetting, like those traumas
true.
that we're speaking about. It's like, why? Okay, you don't have to relive it. You don't have to remember or relive it. What if you just forgot? That's okay too. It's okay that, okay, maybe it's buried really deep. But maybe that has turned into one of those beasts now that we just have to give a job to. Like maybe he's just sitting there dormant, like anger, for example. I
Mm,
feel like anger is just like a collection of holding on to all of that trauma. We're just angry and we don't know why. And so,
exactly.
like, let's just take this anger first, not even go through why we're angry. It's okay. We don't have to know why we're angry. We can still use that energy of being angry and doing and taking care of the things that we need to take care of, or that we.
Yeah. Using your emotions for your own good.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like magic, right? You use your emotions to fuel your magic. Very
Exactly.
interesting perspective, youngin. Mm, I love this shit. I could do this all day. Um, okay, but we're gonna come back. So drop your website again, okay? And
Mhm,
we're gonna have you back on the show because I would love to get into more detail, especially about this do-it-yourself blueprint.
mhm.
Very interesting. I would love to explore that. I feel like that's super innovative, the new hot shit.
Yeah. Yep. Put the power back in people's hands instead of feeling like we have to go to all these gurus. Like Kay was saying in the last Q&A, the collective feels like they have to constantly go to people to figure shit out. But I feel like it's a cop out as well for not wanting to do it by yourself, which is, I would say, part of my theme. I never wanted to do shit by myself, but it's like you kind of need to. There's some shit that you just have to do alone, and that's fine. That's okay. You don't have that extraness distracting you.
Wow. We
Yeah.
want to give a special thanks. Thank you
Mm.
for following your intuition. Thank you for all of your experiences that have led you to such a creative, innovative mind. Thank you for being able to, I know it's hard at times, cut the fucking brain off a little bit and let your mind just run rampant with your
Yeah.
imagination. We are very thankful for this. We are very thankful for your now contributions and the contributions to come. Mhm. We are. So, do you want to close us out with any last words, darling?
Sure. I'm so elated to just finally see clearly now that this is truly a playground for us to really have fun with and not take this shit so seriously. So,
That is the hardest thing for all of us, even
yeah.
the official fairy godmother sometimes to wrap her head around. And then in the moment when I'd be like, yes, I'm having a human experience. Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
like blow that shit away.
Exactly. Yep, literally. And it's like you can use the most weird ways to transmute energy. Like that's literally how creative we are. And it's like we think it's crazy and we think, oh, that's not gonna work. Okay, it won't, but just have fun. Have
We
fun.
are writing the new story of alchemy.
Hmm. Yes, we
I
are.
love it. Oh,
And don't forget through your heart, boo.
through your heart, boo.
Heart.
Your heart, boo. I love it.
Yeah, that is your GPS.
Man. Ah, we're on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Excited me. Okay. So we want to thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all so much. Yo, we about to be having some fun on this channel. We about to be talking to some very interesting things. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. All right. So, anyway, peace, love, and bliss. Peace, love, and bliss. And we will see y'all soon.